Once upon a time, there lived a husband and wife who had been wishing for a child for many years, but it had all been in vain. Finally, the woman became pregnant.
Hooray! You're pregnant at last! This is gonna be
Awesome.
dream come true.
I know. Now, in the back of their house, the couple had a small window that overlooked a fairy's garden filled with all kinds of flowers and herbs. But nobody ever dared enter it. One day, however, when the wife was standing at the window and looking down into the garden, she noticed a bed of wonderful Rapunzel. She had a great craving to eat some of the lettuce, and yet she knew that she couldn't get any.
That seems delicious.
What? What are you talking about, hon?
About that Rapunzel over there?
Oh, you can't go over there. Don't even look over there. You know what she's like.
So she began to waste away and looked wretched. Her husband eventually became horrified and asked what was ailing her.
What's wrong? What's wrong? You look wretched.
I really like to have some of that Rapunzel. I'm starving, and I
forgot that. Come have some pickles.
Eat it.
Some ice cream.
It looks so yummy. I need to eat that.
So one evening, he quickly climbed over the high wall into the garden, grabbed a handful of Rapunzel, and brought the lettuce to his wife.
Whoa.
Enjoy.
Super good. I'm gonna make a salad with it.
She ate it with great zest.
Oh, great. You look better already.
This is fantastic.
Yay.
The Rapunzel tasted so good to her, so very good, that her craving for it became 3 times greater by the next day.
Now I want to eat this every meal, every day.
But we just have like a little bit so she wouldn't notice it was gone.
No, I need this. This is so delicious and tasty. I cannot eat anything else. This is my meal.
Oh.
Her husband knew that if she was ever to be satisfied, he had to climb into the garden once more. And so he went over the wall into the garden, but was extremely terrified when he stood face to face with a fairy who angrily berated him. She angrily berated him for daring to come into the garden and stealing her Rapunzel.
How could you possibly? You know this is forbidden.
I had to. I had no choice. My wife, she's pregnant at last. Our baby is coming. I'm hoping for a girl. And the only thing she wants to eat is Rapunzel. You can't be pregnant and not eat. This is what she needs. Please, please, you've got to understand. We're desperate.
A baby?
Why does the fairy... No.
Go ahead.
Why is the fairy so enticed by the idea of a baby?
Babies are delicious. Babies are fun. Babies grow up. Babies tell you funny stories. They hug you. We love babies, but we can't make babies, so we steal them.
No.
Yes.
Steal our baby?
Do you want?
Stealing is wrong.
Ha ha ha. Are you stealing? Then I will steal. When the baby is born, it is mine.
In his fear, the man agreed to everything.
What choice do I have? Just let me have the Rapunzel. Let me have all of it. Maybe my life will, my wife at least, will survive. Honey, lots of Rapunzel.
Thank you. This is so amazing. That fairy must be super nice and super kind to give you all these.
Enjoy.
For free.
Enjoy. I'm glad to see the bloom in your cheeks again.
I'm so happy now.
When his wife gave birth, the fairy appeared at once, named the baby girl Rapunzel, and took her away.
My baby! What happened?
She demanded it for the Rapunzel. That was the only way I could bring you the salad that you could.
What? I don't want to exchange my kid with Lee.
were wasting away. I thought you were going to die. What could I do?
Are you crazy?
Rapunzel grew to be the most beautiful child under the sun. But when she turned 12, the fairy locked her in a very high tower that had neither doors nor stairs, only a little window high above. Whenever the fairy wanted to enter the tower, she would stand below and call out,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
Rapunzel had radiant hair, as fine as spun gold. Each time she heard the fairy's voice, she unpinned her braids and wound them around a hook on the window. Then she let her hair drop 20 yards, and the fairy would climb up it. One day, a young prince went riding through the forest and came upon the tower.
This is Prince. Where did this prince come from?
I came from a faraway land that no one knows where.
Good.
He looked up and saw beautiful Rapunzel at the window. When he heard her singing with such a sweet voice, he fell completely in love with her. However, since there were no doors in the tower and no ladder could ever reach her high window, he fell into despair. Nevertheless, he went into the forest every day until one time he saw the fairy, who called out,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
As a result, he now knew what kind of ladder he needed to climb up into the tower. He took careful note of the words he had to say, and the next day at dusk, he went to the tower and called out,
Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair.
So she let her hair drop, and when her braids were at the bottom of the tower, he tied them around him, and she pulled him up.
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh no!
At first she was terribly afraid.
Ah!
But then, soon, the young prince pleased her so much that she agreed to see him every day and pull him up into the tower. Thus, for a while they had a merry time and enjoyed each other's company. The fairy didn't become aware of this until one day Rapunzel began talking and said to her,
No, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the same way. Kind of grown out of my clothes, you know. I don't know what's going on. I feel a little strange.
You naughty girl. I can't believe you betrayed me like this.
She immediately realized that she had been betrayed and became furious.
I'm
Then
furious.
she grabbed Rapunzel's beautiful hair, wrapped it around her left hand a few times, picked up a pair of scissors with her right hand, and snip, snap, the hair was cut off. Afterward, the fairy banished Rapunzel to a desolate land, where she had to live in great misery. In the course of time, she gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl.
So
On
sad
the, on the same day that the fairy had banished Rapunzel, she fastened the braids that she had cut off to a hook on the window, and that evening, when the prince came and called out,
Down with your hair.
so she let the braids down. But when the prince climbed up into the tower, he was astonished to find the fairy instead of Rapunzel. In his despair, do you know what, you villain? The angry fairy said. Rapunzel is lost you forever.
I exiled her.
In his despair, the prince threw himself from the tower. He escaped with his life, but he lost both eyes. Sadly, he wandered around in the forest, eating nothing but grass and roots, and did nothing but weep. Some years later, he made himself to the desolate land where Rapunzel was leading a wretched existence with her
so sad
children.
all the time. Just sad with my kids. Just so wretched. So terrible.
When he heard her voice, it sounded familiar at first, and then he immediately recognized
Oh,
it.
my prince. Oh, it's so good to see you again. I'm so glad you're here. Don't you recognize my voice?
Yes.
She embraced him, and 2 of her tears fell upon his eyes. Then and his eyes became clear again, and he could see as usual.
Can you see?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful.